Welcome to Koffee Talks, a Pokemon card collecting podcast, featuring David Person, owner of the world's most complete English Pokemon card collection, and Dan Norton, a longtime collector with all the knowledge behind the cards.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Koffee Talks. It is another week. It's a bit later than usual. I guess because of when this is probably going up. Happy Thanksgiving. There's a good chance this episode's going up on Thanksgiving morning. Dave, how's your week been?
Dan, I'd like to apologize for the late tardiness of our podcast. Dan, it's all on me. See, people don't realize, Dan, when I allude to my age at all times, I really am this old. And so, when the fatigue sets in, Dan, and it's like, the haters are out there and the lovers are out there, it weighs on you. I mean, it really weighs on you. It doesn't weigh on me so much, but it could weigh on you in theory if you had something that would weigh on you. Now, I have a lot of food that I eat, Dan, and that does always weigh on me, but that's a different kind of weighing. You know what I'm saying, Dan?
Sort of.
Okay,
Not sure you know what you're saying, but I got some of it.
Yeah, nothing at all. It's not said anything important. Dan, really good to see you. If it's going to come up on Thanksgiving, I want to tell you how thankful I am for you, how thankful I am for everybody out there that's our friends that watch the Koffee Talks podcast. A couple of people I'm not so thankful for, and that can happen. That's all right. But you know what? They're in my hearts and my head, even if they're not in my heart and my head.
Hey, I mean, the last two episodes have just been full of people we're not thankful for.
Well, and that can happen. But you know what? Think about those. If those people didn't exist, Dan, here's the positive spin on this. We don't have 3,000 views for us, which is a lot. Like, it's not 27,000, Dan, but it's 3,000 views on video one on the pre-release Raichus, over 2,000 views, I think, maybe on the second one. So without those folks and a little bit of gossip, we don't have that many views. So thanks to everybody. I am thankful for everybody and anybody.
Yeah, let's see how many people keep watching when they realize this isn't just a constant gossip podcast. I will say, before we get into it, there is going to be a little bit of an update on those situations from last week at the start, but this is mainly, ideally, going to be an episode a lot more about cards rather than people, so...
Yeah, that's not true, Dan, but that was the intent of the episode. And at least we started with the right intent.
Yeah.
We are going to have to fill in, like Dan said, a few of the gaps. So we're going to do that in the comments section in the beginning. So that way, those of you who really are waiting for the dramatic conclusion to everything can get there. And there is no conclusion. And then, but we're going to go on with more typical segments today. Yes. And somewhere along the way, we're going to cover some cards, which is good. So, Dan, that's what we do. And we're going to do it and we're going to keep doing it. And we'll go on. So I know we're going to go into comments real quick. I just want to say, because it makes sense, we can't address every comment. There's hundreds of comments on the videos. Dan and I both encourage you guys to go and read them. They're so interesting. So many folks have real interesting, unique perspectives, and you guys are all so intelligent. So reading that stuff and getting different perspectives is important. I will say generally overall, clearly, and they're Koffee Talks podcasts, but it doesn't mean they're going to be this way. The overall tenor of the comments was so positive. And we appreciate that. And so I'm not going to read everyone that says, Rattle is a goon and Pratt is the cabal and all that. But, but they're out there and they're fun to read. But we are going to kind of move on from there and to say, so I can go through some comments that are a little bit more interesting, maybe thought provoking. And then Dan's going to give you an E4 update. So, so Dan, how about, are you okay if I start with a few of these comments?
Yep, you get it. If you have some specific comments you wanted to read out, you go ahead with that, and then I'll jump in and go over some of the overarching themes of some of the comment section.
Let's take a look at your comments.
All right, so Dan, again, in no particular order, just a few comments that I thought were interesting. One was from E.C.234. And he said, Dan and David, I want to thank you both for talking about this and giving your perspectives. I've been a part of the forum for a few years now, and I've had my fair share of frustrations. I was confused about the migration ever since it happened and knew the surface level, so it's great to finally hear more of your side that I would never have known. There have been many practices and behaviors that I disagree with that have left me feeling uneasy, such as the banning and manipulation of posts. I'm not sure if it's appropriate for me to feel as sad as I do over this, but it's never easy to slowly bear witness to the flaws of something that you once thought had none. And then he goes on to say, however, I've also found value in talking with, reading from, and meeting many of the common members there. Despite what might be going on behind the scenes, it's still a great way to meet other collectors, et cetera, et cetera. So, and it's a very long and like I said, well thought out post. Encourage you guys to go read it. But the moral of the story for me is, you know what? If there's going to be people on E4 that are talking to each other in a great way, and just like I said, some people on E4 put their opinion out there that the pre-releases were real and verifiable, in contrast to what Scott Pratt would have said. I think it's fine. The whole thing is how it got to be where it got to be is not a great situation. But there's a lot of folks that had no knowledge of that, and so if that's their way of communicating and interacting with other collectors, then I'm okay with that, despite how it all happened, because they weren't a part of it at all. So I just again wanted to point that out, that there's always going to be two sides to each story. Dan and I are going to give you both sides. We are going to give you a objective, unbiased opinion, the facts, and then you guys get to make your own decisions based on that. Another comment from Mike Dogs 9409. Hit my current situation on the head towards the end of the video. I left a 6-figure job because of moral/ethical reasons that I couldn't go along with anymore. I'm now on the job hunt. Freedom of speech should definitely trump that. The opinion is against Pratt. So again, I think those folks are few and far between, but I commend Mike Dogs 9409 saying, I'm going to stick up for what's right. I'm not going to be a part of something that, even if it's going to cost me money, because karma is going to be something that I'm going to look for the rest of my life. And I want to be a positive energy generating person. Potato Pack wrote, leave Koffee Talks here. However, if you want to build your Minutes Watch channel, David, maybe have a spin-off series like a midweek follow-up so people can go back and forth. The key is culture, which is consistency and nostalgia. Build this, and then it's a clean formula and everyone feels loved. Maybe a pack opening. We need packs open, like a $50 a week pack opening, and discuss the history of cards, artists, etc. But you need some cheat sheet notes ready on the side for that. Just don't make it financially draining so it isn't a potato pack session. So a nice comment. And I think that's what Dan and I want, the folks that hopefully stick around. We've increased our viewership a lot, but that doesn't mean any of you are going to stick around once we stop, doing the drama stuff that's going on. And so, but we do present a podcast that's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be informative, supposed to be a little entertaining, a little bit, sometimes controversial, but informative. And so I'm not sure what Potato Pack means as far as pack openings, exactly how we do that, but we can try to work on that and figure it out too. But I, again, appreciate all the ideas. It means a lot.
Yeah, it seemed like Potato Pack was maybe suggesting you doing additional videos that were just you opening packs. I do just want to say, because I had some questions on this week. I saw when I went over and I watched Nostalgianomics' video in which he reacted to our pre-release Raichu video. There was a question as to, whose content this was. And I did clarify, Koffee Talks is fully an us project. Koffee Talks is as much me as it is David. It's as much David as it is me. It's a full 50-50 thing. Even when we have guests on, we're both going to be here unless there's some sort of, emergency. And generally, when there's a reason one of us can't do it is when we skip a week. It's never going to take to a point where, it's just one of us going forever. But the channel that this is on, this is still my YouTube channel as opposed to being like a partnership YouTube channel. So I do obviously a lot of other videos. Over the last few weeks, they've been few and far between because of how much extra work Koffee Talks has been with the length and everything going on. But I do have a lot of other videos filmed and a lot of other stuff here ready to film and open. So, if it's more of David you're wanting to see, maybe we can try and get David set up so he's doing occasional short videos on his channel as well. But if it's just packs you want to see, I do a lot of stuff. There is still a lot of other things on this channel. I just wanted to lay that out there because I think a lot of people are confused by the fact that, it's a DJ Gigabyte channel, but it's Koffee Talks and it's who does what, who owns what kind of thing.
Yeah, let's not talk about ownership of what, because I'm going to rename it and steal it for myself. No, I can't say that. Dan, but here's the thing. This is every bit of this whole situation is fallout from Nostalgianomics. I have had it with Nostalgianomics, okay? It's a great name, though. I love the name, Nostalgianomics. Who could come up with such a good name? That doesn't just hit you in the head like on a lightning beam or something. So Nostalgianomics, here's the deal, okay? I'm talking to Dan last week, and he's saying to me, oh my goodness, we got a shout out from Nostalgianomics. And I picked up like 100 new viewers on my YouTube channel. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what happens to me? Did you forget about me, Nostalgianomics? Okay, shout out my Instagram at dperson1, because if it is a 50-50 thing, you can't just shout out Dan and forget little old me. I have an ego too, not as big as Dan's,
Right.
but you can see by the hair.
I will
What?
say we got the viewers on the podcast and on the subscribers to the channel because he links directly to the video. If you watch his his reaction to it, it's all about you, I promise. And you can take it up with Nostalgianomics yourself, because I believe in potentially about a month's time, but maybe into the new year, depending on how things go around Christmas, we're going to have Nostalgianomics on as a guest just once we get things figured out for both of us. So you can take it up directly then, but I promise you, if you watch his video, it was mainly you getting the shout-outs.
Okay, well, that gives me a lot to go on. I'm coming for you, Nostalgianomics, in a very friendly way, but I'm coming.
Yeah.
All right, a few more comments. So Omnipoke said, commenting to avoid Uncle Dave's ban hammer. God, I love that. I can ban each and every one of you, and I'm not afraid to. So stay in line, focus up, get your acts together, or get the heck off the podcast. Keep watching for a little bit, though. Put a like up before you go. Pablo Sarabia 4162. Nobody knows why the 4162s come on your names. It's like a YouTube thing. He says we need a Discord channel now. Yes, we do. I know Stephen Kassoon was looking into it, but if we had a Discord channel, we could turn it into the new E5. E5 is our new name. It sounds a little bit like E4. It's a little different, like a new generation. And then we got wonderful Rusty at TCA Gaming. When Rusty comments on a video, either like something's going wrong in his life, he just needs a break from his wife and kids, or you know, he just actually cares, because that guy's so busy. That guy is as busy as it gets. So thank you, Rusty, for your comment.
Before you read his comment, what's Rusty busy doing in a week's time that you were going to mention in the intro and then forgot to?
I didn't forget. I was going to bring it up right now, you're right.
All right,
but fair enough. Yeah, Rusty has kindly agreed to be our next podcast guest on the 50-50 podcast that we own, unless you ask Nostalgianomics, called Koffee Talks. And it's going to be next week. So we are just absolutely thrilled, excited, proud to have Rusty on our channel, unless he bails at the last minute, which wouldn't be the right thing to do. He's too good a guy to do that. So look forward to that, because it's coming soon.
If you have any questions you want us to ask Rusty, leave them in the comments and we'll probably get to some of them. If Dave doesn't just go off on a 2-hour tangent like he did with Radar.
Yeah. No, that was a whole different thing. And plus, we found out he already had a girlfriend. He didn't tell me about when I was trying to sell him off to my daughter. So I guess he was doing things for good publicity, but never told me the truth till it was over. Sure. And you know what? Social media can give you revelations on those secrets. So after the fact, my daughter, she stalked him and then found out it was worthless. Not him. He's not worthless, but the effort was worthless. The Charizard Authority, Rusty wrote, I do not think banning certain keywords has anything to do with free speech, but would shut down conversation that would lead to this video getting traction. A response is needed, but how can you do that without also pushing the information out there so that more people know of its existence? If what you have stated here is the whole truth, then there is a lot to be answered for, and I hope that all parties can take responsibility for whatever their part may be. Good luck on not making a part 3 to this video. Haha, right now this type of video is a go-to for the Poke community. Us guys must all secretly like to watch daytime drama series, but this is reality, not fiction. So a great and astute comment. Dan and I would tell you that there isn't going to be a part 3, but maybe half of today is part 3. And on the reality side, I always watch Bachelor in Paradise. I watch Bachelor, Bachelorette, Survivor, whatever that house, Big Brother. So yeah, reality is a good thing. We can enjoy it. Yeah. Here are the replies. Okay, get in, Dan. Speak right up.
Rusty mentioned obviously that banning certain keywords wouldn't affect free speech. I think maybe that when you worded that question about free speech, it was maybe slightly off in the wording. As I think that mentioning free speech, obviously we know that a forum banning certain words does not impact free speech, as in the legal right First Amendment free speech. We know that that's only a thing that can be covered by governments and stuff. Not that people who yelled at me when I used to work at a call center would know. So many people. Side note, honestly, nothing Americans hate worse than having their call center thing answered by someone with an accent. It's like, hey, did you know the First Amendment says I can swear at you? It's like, no, that's not what the First Amendment means, sir. Anyway, we obviously were not trying to say that there was any sort of legal breach or First Amendment breach in banning certain keywords. It was more about morals of restricting people talking about certain topics because other people disagree with them. Just want to get that in there because I think some of the comments seemed like it was people were misinterpreting that. Anyway, on you do the replies to Rusty's comment.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what you're saying is right, that there's just a natural banning of some kind when you can't go to certain areas and you can't say certain names and whatever. It's just, especially if you're going to say something, you're going to be banned and thrown off the site. How much more discussion can you have? So, at Catch 'em All Collectibles said, listen through and at a loss of what to say, but largely echoing Rusty's sentiment. One thing I would say is a part 3 with actual screenshots and more shown would do a lot more, in my opinion. One thing to hear it, another to see it. Well, guess what, guys? That's coming today with Dan on a very short period of time here. And then Dan responded that I'm going to go through and bring together the images, and I'm going to let him talk about this because this is more of his revelations on everything. Okay, and here was here's from Natural Animal KG. Scares me to death someone being a natural animal. I don't know if it's a testosterone thing or whatever. Hopefully it's not it's got to be a guy. People that want to know what's going on in the story behind all of this will watch the videos, no matter how long they were. You both do a great job keeping the story and keep moving forward. Keith Bowie 315 says, personally, I enjoyed watching it. Don't care about the length of the videos. So we're going to talk about segments in a minute. And then Keith, but says the following, which is a really fun comment. The real measure of your wealth is how much you'd be worth if you lost all your money. Something interesting to think about if you just stop and think, what would you do? Do you really have wealth, health, happiness, the things that some people measure accordingly? And then we get hulking mass, which this guy, we got to get Hulk. We might have to get hulking mass on just for views. I don't even know if anybody knows this person. This guy's crazy good. For those of you who don't have firsthand experience with the perpetual grift of SM Pratt, here's another example. SM Pratt, someone who sources and deals in Japanese sealed product, told his patrons in a video that TPC cracking down on the export of Japanese sealed product was a huge mistake and would only make the shortage of Japanese product in Japan worse. Yes, you heard that correctly. He said that TPC no longer selling to buyers outside of the country would make it even harder for Japanese people to get product than it currently is. No, he did not do a good job of explaining why. And then he says if someone else wants to understand his argument, he can go into it further. But he was talking about it being propaganda and specifically how it was once again for SM Pratt's specific selfish interests. And so the theme of these last couple of videos, in my opinion, to you guys is just make your own opinions. There's been people that have come up and say, feel like this, I feel like this is my opinion. And they're like, they think I'm going to be mad because they're not going on our side, so to speak. There's no side. There's how do you guys become leaders, formulate your own opinions, and take that next step to where people are actually looking to you and for you for that wisdom. So I have one more here, Dan, and I'll let you get in here. I don't think this is at Caged Rhino. I don't think there's enough people that are aware that Rattle purposely took a tweet about legal voting age in the UK from PTC Radio. Radio. And removed all context.
PTCG Radio.
No, PTCG Radio.
Yeah.
Okay. PTCG Radio. And removed all context. So his brain dead followers on Instagram would call the guy a pedophile. This was all because Rattle was salty that he was publicly proven wrong about early release products and he got super butthurt by it. I say this as someone who was a longtime subscriber to Rattle and had never watched a single video by PTCG Radio. It was shocking that the dude would literally try to ruin someone's life and reputation just out of petty spite. There's multiple videos covering the whole thing on YouTube for anyone who is interested. So I'm done with the comments for a second, Dan. I'll let you cut in on anything you want to say about those. And then please discuss the E4 situation for our folks.
All right. So there was a couple of overarching themes in the comments. One I wanted to mention is David's other question last week was about doing clips and stuff from the podcasts. Asked kind of on a terrible one because last week was one that just couldn't be clipped. Last week was 2 very long stories that needed the full context. But yes, I'm aware that I need to start doing clips and stuff for the podcast. Genuinely, if anyone is really good at making reels and TikToks, reach out to me on Instagram and talk to me about that. But I also know I need to do longer YouTube clips and stuff. Anyway, yes, the other overarching thing, which, Catch 'em All Collectibles and stuff mentioned, was they wanted to see some sort of proof and screenshots and stuff to try and back up what I'd said, because otherwise it's, my word against theirs. And I was just going to, compile some screenshots, and then E4 released a statement, as it were, on their forum about the migration. So I figured the best thing to do would be to go over that, and I'll add some screenshots and stuff where I can of just proof of stuff. So I will say, obviously, if I've said anything wrong in the past, I always want to correct it. One thing I will say is I said that when they were talking about when we banned them and stuff, I said it was easy to go and check that was wrong. I actually found out it doesn't show up as clearly as I thought it did. I'm trying to work behind the scenes in ProBoards to get lists of, what accounts were deleted or banned when, just to try and prove some dates and stuff. That's ongoing, but I at least can prove the major stuff. Anyway, this is the statement regarding the E4 transition. I'm going to read over it real quick. I'm going to leave out some other names of other people who just don't want to be involved. I mean, they've put them on their website, but I'm not going to name anyone else other than myself and the E4 people. This is from PFM. It says, on June 30th, 2022, we moved from a ProBoards forum to a self-hosted site you see today. Shortly after posting the link to this new website, SM Pratt and myself were IP banned from the ProBoards forum. I will say, I said that we didn't fully ban them until later, or delete their accounts until later. That is true. They were IP banned on the day when they tried to do the migration, but for about 2 hours. I was out of the house when they actually did the migration. I had someone else. I said to them, just go ban them, delete their post about the migration. I'll deal with it when I get home. They were unbanned. Soon afterwards, they were then allowed to remain on the forum as members up until we actually closed the forum. As we found out over time, 2 ex-staff members were responsible for sabotaging the transition and made an intentional decision to perform a hostile takeover of the old forum. Hilarious wording, hostile takeover. Anyway, DJ Gigabyte and another member. He says, I'll lay out the facts of the situation. Building the new website. Of course, I'm going to go through all this. I'll talk about it. Then I'll talk about why none of what they say matters. ProBoards, a platform built in the 2000s. It was not capable of basic features, blah, blah, blah. Talks a bit about technical speak about ProBoards, and says, we felt it was in the best interest of the community to move to a more modern platform. I spent roughly 3 months working on the transition. The business model of ProBoards is they host the forum for free, they receive ad revenue, and they make it intentionally hard to migrate from. Yeah, because it's against their terms of service to migrate from it. Funny when it's against their terms of service to migrate from it, they make it hard to do. Transitioning off ProBoards provided a very custom solution to make up for their lack of exporting features. Oh, you can export data, fine. You can export your data. If you're a member of any ProBoards forum, you can go right on your profile, and there's a button there. You can click export. You can get all of your data. What you can't export is everybody else's data. It says, as of now, the site is able to sustain itself financially. It always was. It had about $20 a month in outgoings. I want to clarify something about copyright. Every user owns the copyright to their own posts. This was true on ProBoards and continues to be true on the new site. Moving between forum software is very standard practice and necessarily relies on moving copyright data from one platform to another. There's the relevant section of the ProBoards TOS. To clarify, you maintain full ownership of the user content posted to ProBoards, and then the relevant section of the E4 terms of service, including a bolded part. Well, it says, content you submit belongs to you and you decide what permission to give to others, but at the minimum, you license the company to provide content that you submit to the forum use of others. By taking ownership of an existing account via password recovery or any other means, you agree to include all existing posts associated with that account under the same license. Dave, if I come to your house and I take your car and I bring it to my house and I say, David, you still own this car, but it's at my house. And if you ever come back and try and get into it, I'm taking that as your consent that I now own the car. Or I'm now allowed to use the car for whenever. If what they've said is true there, if they were allowed to do this, if those two things worked, I would be allowed to go onto Scott Pratt's Patreon, download all of his videos, re-upload them on this channel, monetize them, as long as I put a thing in the description saying Scott Pratt still owns this video. And if he ever watches it on my channel, that's him giving me consent to use it. But there's no way that works. You can't take something. If you want something of someone's, they have to give you permission before you use it. You can't just use information of other people's or data of other people's and then ask for permission later. That's not how it works. It says, as every user owns their own copyright, we're more than willing to accommodate any deletion requests from anyone who does not wish to be here. We have compiled with 100% of requests and will continue to do so. We'll see that in a minute. Regarding staff members, and then it's a list of how PFM and Scott Pratt made more posts on the Pro Boards than I did. Never denied that. Said in our last video when I was talking through it, I said that I moved away from it because I didn't like the way that it was heading. I didn't like the changes that were being made. I've never stated that I was super active. I never got involved in any of the decisions when it was running.
Dan, let me just say one thing here. So one thing that I talked about with Dan when the statement came out at E4 was that there's many ways that people that are trying to create an argument on their side can go about taking an arguments that really aren't valid, but sort of muddying the waters and making it difficult for people to actually figure out what's going on. And one of those tactics is called information overload. And so I'm a firm believer that as Dan walks you through this, that's what PFM tried to do, was tried to put anything and everything in a statement that including these graphs of users, like, what is it, like XFR technology? Was he grading cards there with the graphs and the ups and the downs? Just a bunch of malarkey, but a way to sort of say, well, I'm just going to inundate you with information. So it sounds like I'm the person that knows what's going on and Dan doesn't know anything.
Yep, there's then more graphs talking about how staff were asked if they wanted to be retrained or step down. He says, I want to note that no one was forced to step down. Not true. I will openly admit I was not an active staff member. I've never claimed that I was being a super active staff member. I never claimed that I still deserved to be moderating the forum. But I was not given that choice. Again, I can't screenshot this because some of this involves other people, and I'm respecting other people in that they might not want me to reveal private messages between myself and them. But I can promise you all that there are other people as well who just woke up to messages one day telling them they were no longer staff members. It says, you may remember confusion on that day because the post link into the new site was removed and a cryptic post about new leadership was made on the old website. Yeah, when the current leadership screws everyone over, steals all the members' data, you're going to want to put some new leadership in. It is important to know who knew what and when regarding the creation of the site. This is just a huge thing about... main thing is that I wasn't on the Discord, which is where staff discussions took place. Why were staff discussions about a forum taking place off the forum? Staff discussions about a forum normally take place on the forum, but hey. Then it's all about myself and another staff member talking to people at New Jersey regionals about it and telling people that it was happening. Correct. Not denying that. I spoke to people about it because when I first found out about it, it was someone came to me and said, Dan, I found out this is happening. I know that this is illegal. Can you help? So I tried to help. I'm in no way ever saying, and I've never said, that I only found out it was happening on the day that it actually happened. I knew behind the scenes for months, and I was working to try and stop it. They've put that in later as well, like some big gotcha, and it's not. I was working to try and get that site taken down and stopped from day one because it was stolen data. Now, the most unbelievable thing about this post. They said, here is a post that DJ Gigabyte made on the Support Pro Boards forums more than 2 weeks before the transition. So let's go into that. When people were asking me for screenshots and stuff of proof, this Pro Boards support thread was the first thing I was about to screenshot. The fact that they have put it into their response or their statement is unbelievable. So basically, if you click on it, you don't need to click on it, I'll show you the screenshot. First post by myself is showing what's happened. It's showing the current Pro Boards forum. It's showing screenshots of the new forum, how they've set it up. And I'm just going to read you the first response from a Pro Boards admin support manager. Hi, you are correct. Per the Pro Boards TOS, the content you post on the forum is yours. This is why you can download a copy of your own data, but you can't download a copy of the forum's data. Remember back to when they were talking about downloading data. Unfortunately, in this case, there isn't anything we, in brackets, pro boards can do, I would suggest speaking to a lawyer, as this is a legal matter. I am not a lawyer and I cannot provide legal advice. Speaking purely on a personal level and not as a representative of pro boards, I would suggest that you and your other members of your forum may be interested in DMCA takedowns. There is the proof. That is it there. That is the smoking gun. That is pro boards admins saying that this is a legal matter and that they can't give legal advice. A lawyer would be the one who had to deal with this. The fact that this post is this post is the proof that it was law breaking. The fact that they have linked to it in their statement as some kind of gotcha that I knew about this happening weeks before it happened is mind-boggling to me. It is either unbelievable stupidity or unbelievable arrogance. And the fact that this post exists, I will die on the hill of this post because this post validates everything I've said.
Can we combine the two, Dan? Can we just combine the two? Instead of stupidity or arrogance, could we just call it stupid arrogance?
Sure.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And this post is why the rest of the things they've said, everything they've said before this doesn't matter. Because everything they said before this were reasons that they wanted to migrate the forum. Nothing were reasons that they were allowed to migrate the forum. As you can see here, by this screenshot, by the Pro Boards admin themselves, this is a legal matter. You cannot download a copy of the forum's data. End of it. End of discussion on whether this was illegal or not. It was 100%. Anyway, I'm going to continue with their statement, but just know that that's how I view it, is that the fact that that statement exists means that nothing else they said matters on the actual transition. It is exactly as we talked about the E4 admins last week and the week before. When I told Pichu Fan's story about him having code stolen and Pratt's response being that, oh, it was fine because he doesn't have the money to sue him, it's the same thing. They don't think that they're within the law. They just don't think the law applies to them. This entire post is reasons that they believe that they were entitled to break the law. That's what this is.
Dan, I know you're going to continue. I just want to throw something in now because, man, when you start talking, I had no idea you can go on like this. So, I mean, this is when it really hits home and you know, I got to give you your leeway. So what I find most interesting about all of this, Dan, is that Scott Pratt has never said a word. Scott Pratt seems to be someone who likes to hide. It's becoming a theme. So he hides behind the Patreon. He hides and says, well, I can't, I'm getting so many negative and so many haters now. I'm not going to social media as much as before, but you can come and see me on my pay-per-view Patreon stuff. When the leader of a company or a board or whatever like this is, E4, and this all goes down and he gives it to his soldiers to go and take care of it, instead of stepping up and understanding that it's a situation and the people that follow him would like to hear from him. And he can't do that in a public way. It all goes to character. It all goes to motive. It all goes to ulterior motive. It all goes to all the same kind of stuff that you and I invariably stand against. You know, we want people to step up and take responsibility, be transparent, and when it's got an objective versus a subjective kind of matter underneath it. So that's the part I think that's most disappointing, other than the fact that they're justifying everything they did because they wanted to do it and they're hoping that they can just kind of talk over everybody. But this hobby has continued to grow and people are now figuring out the reality.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep going through the statement. The next says the primary issue is that they had advanced knowledge of the site coming and didn't voice a single concern to myself or SM Pratt or any other staff member until the day of transition. Yeah, we didn't, because we knew what would happen. I have had it, as I said, I've had experience of raising issues with Scott Pratt in the past. Remember I told you about when I raised the issue of him charging members and it turned into him having a screaming temper tantrum about how our time wasn't worth anything and he'd signed NDAs so he wasn't telling us a damn thing. Yeah, I didn't talk because I knew it would get us nowhere. He says, They were happy to tell all their concerns to E4 members at New Jersey. Yep, absolutely was happy to, because those were some of the people who were having their data stolen. Neither of them communicated anything directly in the months before this happened. Again, correct, not saying that I didn't. I'm not saying that I did communicate anything. Deliberately just tried to get it dealt with behind the scenes. It says, if it was done for the sake of the community, it does not make sense because the vast majority of the community was happy to move off Pro Boards. The vast majority of the community were told that the website was moving. They were not given the choice. They were simply told, we have already moved your posts over here. The aftermath, they said they chose not to say anything publicly because most users didn't care and they didn't want to burden them. So what they did was they just lied about us behind the scenes. I mean, I'm not denying that I talked about them to people at conventions, but I told the truth. Remember, Dave, you'll back me up on this. When we were talking about the pre-release Raichu a couple of weeks ago, I didn't even want to get into calling anybody out. You were saying you had some people you had to call out on the way to the Raichu and stuff, but it was after Matty came back to us. Matty came back. He had a conversation with Scott Pratt 2 weeks ago, just before we recorded our pre-release Raichu video, probably closer to 3 weeks ago now. And he said that Scott had told him that they were forced to create this new website because I banned them from the old one. So Scott's saying that I banned them from the old one, and then they had to put this site together. Even what they've said now in their statement proves that that was a lie. It proves, categorically, that they're just lying about me behind the scenes. So, oh yeah, they didn't say anything publicly, they're just spreading lies about me. I'm more than happy to tell people about bad things about them, but it will be the truth. I'm happy to tell people that they stole the data. They did. You have seen that Pro Board support post. I'm happy to tell people that Scott Pratt was charging members to use the forum. If those members want to come out and say it publicly, they can. Again, that I'm not sharing. I have the screenshots. I can prove it, but I'm not going to, because I respect the privacy of the other people who may not want to be pulled into that. I'm happy to tell people that they have access to all of your private messages on the new forum. As Catch 'em All Collectibles pointed out in the comments of the last video, Pratt actually admitted it to his Patreons in a Patreon post. So I'm happy to spread anything about them as long as it's the truth.
Isn't that incredible that you, before you gloss over that too quickly, that he did point out Catch 'em, Collectibles, that how do I say his name? Catch 'em All Collectibles?
Yeah,
because I got to give credit where credit's due. That he said that in his Patreon, Scott has said publicly that he can view everybody's private messages. So, it is, I guess it doesn't matter, right? It's not a private thing. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. If you don't agree with him, you're going to get banned anyways. And Scott does whatever Scott wants to do.
Yeah. So it says, a small group of users was convinced the forum was created for nefarious purposes, became staff and affiliated with the old site. It says, these users intentionally formed an intense backlash on the Discord server during the transition. I will say, if people did, we weren't telling them to. Some new staff members asked about stuff like that, whether we wanted them to be spreading stuff, and I always said, no, I don't want you causing any sort of disruption. I don't want you trolling. I would rather you just left and didn't interact with the new forum at all. And I will say that now, if anyone thinks that they're helping by trolling the forum, you're not. I know that obviously in the E4 Discord, PFM especially, they love nothing more than getting a group organized and going to all raid and troll some other people's Discord. I mean, hey, ask anyone who moderates Unlisted Leafs Discord, because there was a lot of bombarding in there about me a few months back, about what I did and what I did to E4. I wonder why hundreds of members suddenly decided to join his Discord and just spam everyone. Who knows? But anyway, just if you agree with me on any of this and if you think they're doing something bad, don't give them the satisfaction. Just leave. Just leave their forum. Leave their Discord. That is exactly what I told anyone who started to be a moderator when we were trying to rebrand the old forum. It's exactly what I've told people, even as recent as last week, when some people were asking if they should be trolling the forum. It says, some of the things that the users did. Attempting to post pornography on the new site. Haven't heard about that up until today. This is the first I'm hearing of that. I don't know if anyone actually tried to do that. I don't know who would have done that. Attempting to cause problems to the server by repeated uploading of images, aka a DDoS attack. I know what this is referring to. This is referring to someone who, yes, we did make a moderator on the new forum. They sent a personal message to another member of the forum on the new site with a ton of images in it. They said the reason was they wanted to prove that their messages could be read. They were trying to do something that would get the staff's attention so that they had proof that they were reading the private messages. We told them not to do that anymore. We said, if you want to be moderating the new forum, don't be pulling crap like that. As far as I know, it was one message with a lot of images in it, not repeated uploading of images. Doxing our staff, more specifically posting real name and address on social media. No clue of this, no history of this ever happening. Nothing I've ever seen from anyone who was involved in the rebranding of the forum. Anywhere did that happen. I can say I am not aware of anyone who was involved in the new forum at all ever posting real names and addresses. Sending a glitter bomb to 4th Star TCG's address that his mom opened up. So I found out about this after it happened. 4th Star TCG, months and months before the forum was migrated, like long before they probably even started on the new one, he had a personal disagreement with someone that escalated over the course of a few months and led to that person apparently sending a glitter bomb to his house. If you don't know what a glitter bomb is, it's a package, you open it, it blows up glitter everywhere, gets glitter everywhere. It was nothing.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that a bad thing? Because I would like one of those. Nobody ever sent me a glitter bomb package.
Yeah. It was 100% nothing to do with the transition or the migration of the forum. It was a personal disagreement that 4th Star TCG had with this person that, as I said, had been escalating for months, potentially up to a year. The reason they decided it must be forum related is because that person was someone who designed some new artwork for us when we were rebranding. So because of course they designed some new artwork for us, that somehow meant that this personal beef that he'd been having for months didn't matter and it was the forum's fault. No way. The only thing on there that I know was something to do with someone who was involved with the rebranded forum was the uploading of a lot of images in a private message, and to the best of my knowledge, it was once to get their attention and never again. The glitter bomb especially, I can say, that was the one I know happened, and I know that was nothing to do with forum migration. It says, in retaliation, we did nothing. Not true. 4th Star TCG started threatening people. That's when he started threatening his doxing threats, saying he was going to post people's addresses publicly. They said, we also received a DMCA takedown claim from DJ Gigabyte in an attempt to take down the entire website. Yep, I did. Because, as I've proved already with that screenshot from Pro Board Sport, it was an illegally created website with stolen data. I was trying to protect the members from having their data misused, and I was doing so mainly at the request of another member who came to me for help. Not denying that. They say, in retaliation, we did nothing. Yeah, what do you mean in retaliation? You're retaliating to a legal claim? Unbelievable. Said, final thoughts. 2 ex-staff members had a serious issue with the direction of the forum, and instead of communicating with the rest of the staff, they chose to privately share concerns amongst a small group of non-staff users. They didn't make their issues known until they hijacked the old site and took it as their own. When we did anything to that site, it is because it had been fully locked down. By the time we made any changes, we removed admin privileges or banned anyone. Every single thread had been fully locked and the site was unusable. And I will say, when the forum was going on, I said I wasn't an active mod, and I've openly said I was not happy with the direction that the forum was going, but I wasn't trying to get involved or change it. I was just acknowledging that the forum wasn't for me anymore. There's only 2 times that I really took issue with something and brought it up with people. The first was the first ever time I went in the Discord. It was a little while after it had been opened. I wasn't a Discord user, so I'd never gone into it. I opened the Discord up, the links from the link that's on the front page of E4, and it was just, I was immediately presented with a wall of just horrific posts, a lot of them including racial slurs. I went to SM Pratt, talked about it, was told, yeah, we don't moderate Discord, you shouldn't moderate Discord, that's why it's called Discord. That I kicked off about. I said, you can't have a link from the front page of this forum leading to a Discord that will just immediately blast them with, amongst other things, racial slurs. I really put my foot down on that one. Eventually it got changed. The other time was when I found out he was charging members like yearly fees to be able to post on the forum, and as I explained, that's when he kicked off and threw a hissy fit. No other times have I tried to get involved or change something until someone came to me for help on this because members were having their data stolen. So as we decided to focus on what we do, create a thriving community, we chose not to fall at the level of public shaming of any of these individuals. Again, yeah, you just lied about me behind... You lied about me in private. Literally, ask Matty. As little as 2 weeks ago, there was a new lie going around. We've reached a point in the information vacuum on our side has become an issue, so hopefully that fills in a lot of gaps. It doesn't. It's just more lies and trying to justify why you did something, but also including the post that proves you did something wrong. Unbelievable. Obviously, they locked that so no one could reply to it. Last thing I have to share, a nice little screenshot I found while I was searching for my DMCA claim. I put the screenshot on screen now. What you're going to see next to each other is 3 copies of the same post, a post that I made. The first one you're going to see on the very far left, that is a screenshot of the post on the ProBoards forum. Then in the middle, you're going to see a screenshot of that under the DJ Gigabyte account on the Elite Forum website, which again, I've never used. And then, next to that, on the right across the far right, you're going to see a copy of that post still on the Elite Four website, but no longer under DJ Gigabyte, under Anon and then a bunch of numbers. Because that's what happens when you go to them and say, I want you to remove my posts. I want you to remove my data. They don't remove it. They hid it. They changed the username. They made it so that you couldn't search by DJ Gigabyte. So if I searched by my username, I'd think all my posts were gone. But all of it was still there. I'll tell you, when I was filing DMCA claims, I tried to do it obviously all before the transition, and that's when I was receiving the feedback that obviously I couldn't claim on the whole website because of the fact that each person individually owns their data. Then when the transition happened, and then that's when Scott Pratt was trying to start what he called a dialogue or a conversation between us, I didn't pursue it any further, and I asked him to remove my data from the site. He said, should we move it to just another account in case you decide to come back? And I said, no, I do not want my data on your site. Get rid of it. And then that's when I saw that they had just moved it and hid it to try and stop me finding it. And that's when I then picked the DMCA claim back up and I pushed it through to have my data legally removed from their site. Last thing to say on the topic of data and people consenting to their data being used. They've said in recent times that they had about 10% of the users from the previous forum move over to their forum. That's about 1,000 out of the 10,000 users actually moved over and picked up their remaining accounts. Looking at it, it seems it was around 50% of the people who signed up for the forum never actually made a post. So that means there were about 5,000 people who made posts on the ProBoards forum. And 1,000 people went over to the new forum. So 4,000 people's posts still up there if they haven't requested to have them removed, and even if they requested it, they might be hidden under an anonymous account. So even if it was legally right to say, as soon as you log in, we take that as consent that you're using our posts, which you can't take something illegally and then ask for consent afterwards. Not how that works. That means there's still 4,000 members' posts on there, roughly, that haven't consented. So when's the deadline? When do you accept that they're not going to consent to it? They're not going to. Obviously they're not. There's no level to it. There's no thing of them saying it wasn't, if you don't claim your posts within 3 weeks, they're going to be deleted. That would have been... That was one of the things I suggested when I was trying to keep the peace, is just, okay, after, I think I even said a month, 2 months, anyone who hasn't logged on and claimed their account, remove their data. But no. Just summing it up, obviously, as I said, there were some things I can't share screenshots for, because it was some things that other people need me to keep private. If other people want to share stuff, they can. But the most fundamental thing, the fact that that data was stolen from that forum, that's proved. The screenshot is there. The ProBoard support forum thread is still live. You can still go and visit that. Everything should revolve around that. That is the big issue here. That's what I have been saying this whole time. That's what they've been denying. That's what all the lies about me have spread because of that. And then the second one, the thing that is proved, is that when I asked them to remove my data, they didn't. They went out of their way to hide it on an anonymous account. There is no other reason for that screenshot to exist if they weren't trying to hide my data. There is no other reason it would be on an anonymous account. So, yes, it does mean on a few things I am just having to say trust me. But I think the fact that I have actually proved the main points of this argument and the main disagreements I have proved, I think I've earned that. I think I've earned a little bit of trust me on some of the other smaller side parts of this. So that lasted longer than I thought.
Let me say a couple things. So number one, the last part that you made, the whole part about them doing something illegal is so clear just in the Pro Board's response. And so we know that for sure. The end of what you said here regarding keeping people's data and putting it under false and fake names, not unexpected with them, especially if it's your data, Dan, because everything you would come up with data-wise or post-wise is going to be something interesting and stimulating and historical. And so they're not going to want to throw that out because they want people to be able to still have access to you, even though they kicked you out. So that's just really a sad commentary on a continued kind of we own the world sort of mentality.
Yeah.
I will say that I understand completely that, as I sit here and listen to Dan, I know Dan, and I've told you guys, straightest arrow I've ever known in my entire life. So I don't doubt one thing he said because I know who he is and I know that he just is overbearing when it comes to the truth. But I do wish that that some of the folks that he's alluded to that don't want to be named and don't want their information out there, it would mean a lot if any of you folks can just say, Dan, this has been cathartic for you. You've revealed everything. We'd like to support you and say it's absolutely fine if you post some of our posts as well, because that would just be, I know there's folks out there saying, well, Dan just says, I'm not going to post because I'm going to try to insulate those people from further heck that they might have to pay from PFM and Pratt and everybody else. So it's got to be comfortable. I don't pressure anybody to anything. You have to feel like what's right for you. But if there's anybody out there that says, can message Dan and say, you know what, Dan, throw our posts in there. We have no problem with it now. Let's get it all out in the open finally. That would just add more, verification, validation to whatever, all the things that Dan has put out here today.
But, honestly, David, if people choose not to believe any of the other stuff I've said, the fact that it was a legal matter, Pro Board's support, proof. That screenshot's there, that thread's there. The most important part is proven. The fact that they put it in their post, like I said, it shows we couldn't have written a parody post from them any better than they actually wrote themselves. It's exactly as we said. They think the law doesn't apply to them. They just came up with reasons why they thought they should be allowed to break the law. That, like I said, that went on longer than I thought it would. I don't know how long it's going to turn out in the edit, but that's where we are. Like I said, there's always going to be people who don't believe me. And I guess I should even say, I have no problem if people want to use their website. I can definitely understand why people want to. If anyone wanted to and was okay with their data being moved over, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with their website existing with people's data that wanted it moved over. I was only acting, and I only am still acting, for people who do not want their data on their website, whose data was stolen and who don't want it on there. That's the people I'm acting for. If you say, oh, I'm loving the new E4, great. Enjoy it. Enjoy the community. Enjoy the Discord and whatever it is you do in there. This isn't for you. You probably don't need to worry about this, other than, it being a reflection on the character of the people who built the website. But if there are people out there who have been trying to get their data removed, if they've had any issues, if you've come into a thing like I did, like if you found your data again under an anonymous account, let me know and I will do my best to help you. I'm always going to try and help. That's all I'm doing. So the only reason I got involved in this is that someone reached out and asked me for help. And that's why I went to that Pro Board support first, is because I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the laws and stuff around this. I went to confirm that it was illegal first. If it wasn't illegal, I would have gone straight back to that person and said, it's really, really crappy what they've done, but it's not illegal. There's nothing we can do. Every action I've taken, everything I've said, every time I've tried to spread the truth has only been because they broke the law to do this and are still breaking the law today by having all of that data up there. And yeah, I think that's it, I think. David, we've overrun on that section a little bit. Do you want to do a train deck AOB? Or would you like to jump straight into talking about some cards?
So I want to talk about we're going to do a drawing and a giveaway. We're going to start that up again this week.
So, cool.
So I'm going to get into that in just a minute. So for those of you that may not know, because you're newer to the Koffee Talks podcast, we did this a while back and we had to stop it for a little bit, but I want to try to start it up again. So here's how the rules work for the drawings or giveaways. You got to reach out to me personally. You got to jump into my DMs. I love saying that. It makes me seem so relevant. You got to give me the character name and number, Pokemon character. I'm going to reveal that somewhere during the remainder of the podcast. So I hope you're listening, because then you'll find out and then you can enter. Rules-wise, friends and family of Dan or me are not eligible to participate. So all of my kids, don't do it. Also, if you commented in favor of Pratt or Rattle in a past podcast, don't waste your time. Okay? Don't even bother.
Those people aren't still here. They didn't come back for another one.
Okay. All right. Anyways, you guys, if you did comment in favor of them, you could still enter. It's up to you. I'm perfectly fine with it. Okay. It's all statistical likelihood. So, okay. Now listen to this. This is important. Okay. Stephen Kassoon. I'm just kidding, buddy. If you post your answer in the comments and you don't DM me privately, you'll be disqualified from ever participating in our giveaways again. Sorry, guys, but I don't make the rules. Okay.
Yeah, you do.
Wait a minute. That's kind of, I think I do. All right. So you'll find out the stuff later, and you can, again, character in the DMs, tell me, and then the number, it's got to be the character and the number, and then you can enter, and I'll send you something if you win. All right. Now.
Okay. But they do still have to leave a comment on the video. It's just they have to send you the message privately with which Pokemon you want them to say, but they also still have to leave a comment on the video. The point of these giveaways is to get more interaction on the video, not get your DMs blowing up.
Yes. Do make a comment on the video, but make sure it has nothing to do with the character and the number, because that would tell everybody else what the answer is. Then they wouldn't have to watch the video. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. I don't got to tell you this stuff. All right. I mean, I'm tired of it. If I got to lay this stuff out for you, then you're even not as smart as me. And that wouldn't make sense because I'm not smart. Okay. So here we go. Deal of the podcast. I got a new section I'm adding in. Deal of the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if you're listening right now and you're watching, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. So the deal of the podcast, Dan will have a picture up on the screen right now, is a 2013 Pokemon World Championships Champions Festival English language stamped participant card, near mint to mint condition. It features Bidoof with a Psyduck hiding way in the back. I can see him. It looks like he's on top of some water or something. So I can't speak for eBay and how it changes, but I did happen to look it up. The current lowest buy it now price on this card on eBay is about $300. And I'm going to offer it on a first come, first serve basis to you guys, while supplies last, so to speak. If you jump into my DMs, okay, and tell me you're interested for $500. Okay. So I just want to see Dan look crazy. Okay, I'm just kidding, Dan. I can't sell it for more than eBay. It wouldn't make no sense. Jiminy Crickets, Dan. I'm going to offer it to you guys for $100, including shipping. Okay, but you got to jump into DMs only if you come to me personally. And I got one more caveat here. So if you can't do this, my apologies, but it's how it works. You got to trust me to pay me enough. Trust me enough, not to pay me enough. You got to trust me enough to PayPal me, friends and family, or Zelle me. So if you trust Uncle Dave will send you the card and he won't rip you off, I ain't ripping you off. You got to PayPal friends and family or Zelle me. And yes, these are the only kinds of payment I can accept for this particular deal. It's a beautiful card. It's a great deal. So knock yourself out. And with that, I got nothing. Dan has spoken so much. I'm not going to let him say another word. We're going to roll right into Trainer Deck A or Trainer Deck B.
It's time to play Trainer Deck A or Trainer Deck B.
as we're starting Trainer Deck AOB, can I just say, I have a lot on this week. If we had to record this one late, my other podcast I'm having to record early, and you're dropping new sections on me. Unbelievable.
I know.
Anyway,
and you know what? If you got to go out an extra day late or something, at least we're kind of getting one out every week. So it's okay, but I am sorry about that. But I want to try to get
so
this.
This could be Happy Black Friday instead of Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, exactly, which is okay. So
anyway, there's a lot of new people here. They've never seen Trainer Deck AOB before, so it's going to be fun to watch the little graph of watch time when this starts and watch my subscriber numbers plummet back down once this nonsense gets going.
I'm sorry, Dan.
Come on.
All right, so here we go then, Dan. So here's the thing. A lot of you folks haven't seen Trainer Deck A or Trainer Deck B, and probably you shouldn't watch it now. It's really not interesting. It's our least favorite segment. We get so much flack on this that people love it, but they can't admit they love it, and so they watch it, but then they don't tell anybody they watch it. You figure it out. Here's the rules of Trainer Deck A or Trainer Deck B for those of you who may not be familiar with it. I'm going to provide Dan with a series of options from which to choose. He has 10 seconds to provide his choice and potentially give an explanation for that choice. If Dan takes longer than 10 seconds, a Pokemon judge will magically appear, and Dan will be provided with an immediate loss of game penalty, likely disqualifying him from this year's Pokemon World Championships. All right, Dan, are you ready for Trainer Deck A or B?
Yeah. For people that didn't follow that, it's an either-or game. He's going to ask me random either-or questions, sometimes with words he's made up, and he just likes to take forever on the rules.
Why don't you give the whole thing away? They can figure it out. They're going to watch.
For the long-time fans who have seen Trainer Deck A or B before, Laura posted a new sketch of Tummy Nut on her Instagram this week, so go check that out as well. Her Instagram, because she does all the visuals, is linked in the description. If you don't know what Tummy Nut is, congratulations. You probably don't want to know.
You're going to find out soon when I get down there, because it's on the list. All right, here we go, Dan.
Yeah.
Count Chocula or Frankenberry?
Ooh, Count Chocula.
With such an authoritative answer. I love when you do that.
Yeah. Laura loves Count Chocula so much that every October we try and buy as many boxes as we can to try and last through to the next October. We've never managed it because she eats it so frequently when we have it, but we've stocked up a lot.
So basically, Dan, the best thing that could ever happen in your life would be a Count Chocula promotion where they've got Pokemon cards inside the box.
It would, because they did it for General Mills have done that. The last time, I think 2 times ago when they did it, we bought so much cereal that we literally had a year's worth of cereal. It was until a year after the promotion when we finally threw out the remaining boxes of cereal. It's great. The bags stay fresh if you keep them sealed. I built a throne out of all the boxes to do a thumbnail. It was great. Every time someone came around our house, we offered them a box of cereal if they wanted to take it home.
Okay, so now, Dan, this is really all about you, but I got to throw it out there. You guys go find my old stuff, David Person Pokemon on YouTube, and you'll see one where I've got those boxes of cereal. It's the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and I'm coming out of them I'm exploding out of them. And Dan kept his boxes for 1 year. We had so much that we bought it actually took us 2. Dan, Tricks or Lucky Charms?
Ooh, Lucky Charms. I love Lucky Charms.
Yeah, so you're a marshmallow guy, Dan. That's very clear.
A friend said to me, he first of all said to me, "You eat like my 10-year-old daughter eats," and then corrected himself and he said, "No, you eat like my 10-year-old daughter would eat if she had no supervision."
Yeah, that makes sense. And by the way, his 10-year-old daughter probably has pink hair as well. Dan, delusion or illusion?
Illusion. I enjoy magic.
All right,
that's that one.
The magic of this, darling, is going to be whether or not you can hang on to any subscribers or watchers as we meander through this segment.
It's awful,
Dan, comical or farcical?
Comical. I do quite like comedy too.
Yeah, because farcical is not virtually the same thing. Okay, Dan, stayed or stayed? STAID or STAYED?
I don't even know what stayed the first spelling would be. Is that a band or something?
No, Dan, that means like respectable, kind of unadventurous, just kind of a sedate kind of person. Or stayed, STAYED.
The second one, I guess then, because I don't like to travel too much. I like to travel for events, but a lot of time I just like staying here. And I need to stay here right now. I have so much work to do.
Dan, chide or deride?
Again, two things basically the same, so we'll say chide.
Decide or divide?
Divide and conquer.
Inside or outside?
Inside. I do not want to spend any time away from my air conditioning.
Collide or run and hide?
Collide. Why not? We've been in a fighty mood these last couple of weeks, so let's go with collide.
Yeah, you've definitely stopped running and hiding. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
Dan, artisan or Amazon?
Amazon, because I know they're an evil company and you shouldn't order from them, but it's also unbelievably convenient, so everyone does, and I'm part of those people.
Okay. Do not call them evil. You don't know what you speak. You just decide to. Don't be that herd mentality, all right? There's nothing wrong with Amazon. They allow for services, and even if they're evil, you can't say they're evil because nobody really knows if they are unless you formulated an opinion.
Yeah,
Dan?
The Alexa that's in our closet will strangle me in my sleep if I say that they're evil.
Good point. She's listening anyways right now. Dan, strange or oddish?
We'll go oddish.
Dan, gloom or doom?
We'll go Doom. I'm not picking the Pokemon. Doom is a good video game.
Wow, that's hard to believe. Nice choice. Laura, make sure you're listening. Here we go. Dan, 8 stories or 9 tails?
9 tails, because Laura would kill me if I didn't pick the Fox one. But she can work on some 8 stories Pokemon artwork, I'm sure.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Dan, SQEX or SQGX?
SQEX? What even is that? What are those?
They're a card. EISCUE.
What? Ice Q?
SQ. EISCUE. SQ?
Ice Q.
Okay, don't act like you knew what it was because you're going to repronounce it for me now. Okay, let me ask again. IceQEX or IceQGX?
EX. Did Ice Q even have a GX? I don't remember. Maybe it did.
No, they don't. That's why I was testing you. Dan,
yeah.
Denizen or Finizen?
Finizen.
So you don't care about meat?
Dave, I think I care about you more than anyone in this world cares about you, and that's...
Not me.
That's
meat.
it. Meat? I think you said to care
Yes.
about you. God.
No, Denizen. Denizen is meat, and you love meat.
Denizen, did you say?
Oh, God. You're doing this all of a sudden. You need a hearing aid thing. I'm not going to play that game.
Oh, were
Dan,
you saying venison? Like the meat, venison? Like
no, I call it Denizen.
Venison? But deer meat. Is that what you're meaning? You're meaning the meat of a deer? Is that what you're trying to say?
Like, I mean, if that's what you would say to Laura, dear sweetie, I love your, I can't. But Dan, forget it. It doesn't matter at this point.
We forget
really.
the whole game.
You're doing a great job. Dan, Houndstone or Dog Rock?
Houndstone. It's a cute Pokemon.
Nose pass or ear fail?
Gonna go with ear fail because that's me. I had to have they go the wrong way, and I had to have special surgery on them. I had surgery on my nose too, but
well, I'm more worried about your lungs. The rest of it, you look great. It's just your lungs inside that's eating away at you.
Yeah, I would rather be able to breathe and not be able to hear. If one of them had to go permanently, I'd lose my hearing over losing my lungs.
Yeah,
but
well, you know what?
They're both going to go. It's just a race against time as who gets there first.
All right. I know one thing that's never going to go is the pink hair. God love you. Dan, paper or scissor?
Paper.
So you didn't pick the Pokemon. Scizor. Dan, Gita or Rhyme?
Rhyme. I don't know the Pokemon characters that well from the games. I know they both have cards. I don't know. What are we doing, Dave?
Sesame or Poppy?
Sesame. I really hope there aren't many more of these.
Poppy's a Pokemon.
Okay. I'll trust you on that one. It's not Pokemon, it's a character from Pokemon.
That's what I mean. It's a Pokemon character. I call it a Pokemon because I don't have time. You took so much time, lambasting E4. We got like 4 minutes left on the video. Dan, belly bolt or tummy nut?
I'll go with tummy nut so Laura can keep drawing it.
All right. And that, folks, is where we are. This is our my drawing. You have to type belly bolt, BELLIBOLT, into my DM along with the number 201. Belly bolt number 201. Also known as tummy nut, the twin, the evil twin that Laura has art for. And make sure to do that, and then I'll get you the drawing, and we will announce next podcast where it is.
Remember,
okay,
that is his DMs. That's dperson1 on Instagram. Don't
at dperson1 on Instagram. Do not talk to Dan. He's too busy editing and rendering the videos.
You can talk to me. Just don't send me. People can come and talk to me. Just don't everyone send me the word belly bolt.
Nostalgianomics, if you want to tell everybody about this is the good time to get him to my my Instagram at dperson1. All right, Dan, last one. Together or apart?
Together.
All right, my friend.
All right.
Dan, why did you pick together? Because it's going to transition us into our highlighted cards?
Yep.
Okay, let's do it then.
And now for our highlighted cards of the week.
Okay, welcome back to all of the people who used the time codes in the description to just skip that section. I do not blame you in the slightest. Today, the highlighted cards, so some of the highlight cards we're talking about, we're going to talk about Pokemon Together. I'm going to guess that this is one that not a lot of people have heard of. All right, he's those look ridiculous. You look like a giant insect. Anyway, Pokemon Together. Pokemon Together is a set of 2 basically brand new promo cards. We've got a Pikachu and an Eevee, and they have the words Pokemon Together. I believe it's a golden stamp. It might be embossed. I haven't seen the physical card yet on the picture of the card. And it only just released, and it has a very, very limited release. So what this promotion is there's a special Pokemon post box or a post office traveling around certain places in Europe. And what you can do is when you get there, there's character meetups of Eevee and Pikachu, and you get in line, you queue up, and what they do is they give you one of each. They give you Pikachu and Eevee, and they give you corresponding envelopes. So there's a nice Pikachu-themed envelope and a nice Eevee-themed envelope. But you're not allowed to take both of those away with you. You have to pick one to take with you, and the other you have to mail off to someone. You have to put it in the envelope, fill in someone's address, and mail it there and then. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people just mailed it to themselves, but it's a nice thing. It's about the idea of, you're getting something and you're sending something nice to people for free at Christmas. It's a very nice and wholesome thing that unfortunately has created some really rare Pokemon cards that are going to be a nightmare to get a hold of for a lot of people. Because you see, this is, like I said, traveling around Europe. It's going to a few places in the UK, a few in France, and a few in Germany. Now, it is, at this point, we've only had 1 day of this event. As at time of recording, the only event that we've seen is the Edinburgh Day. And we don't know yet if the cards are going to be in English for every stop. The assumption at the moment is kind of that it is going to be in either English, French, or German, depending on what country you're in. So there is a potential that there's only going to be 3 possible days to get these English cards. And that was the Edinburgh event, there's a Cardiff event, and then there's a London event. The London event is, I think, the full last one right before Christmas. So, obviously when we heard about this, the first thing we had to do was start messaging people we know in the UK. So we messaged, I spoke about it before, our friend Matty, who doesn't live anywhere near any of those places. We're hoping some people can get him in. Basically, what it's come down to is, we grabbed him on eBay. We did. Once the Edinburgh Day happened on Saturday, first thing Sunday morning, I put Pokemon Together into eBay. There were a few listings. It's not like they were incredibly rare where I was having to chase down and try and find 3 sets. One for me, one for David, one for Laura. They were all there, but they were still pretty limited in number. There's, I think, only about 10 to 20 sets that are floating around eBay at any one time. Obviously, if it turns out they're all in English for the tour, there'll be a bit more available, but I can't imagine there's going to be a ton of these cards available at any one time. Obviously, I think long term, this is going to be a set that is borderline impossible to get. I think this is going to be one of those ones where it's something like the Pokemon Club promos from a few years back, where they were everywhere for a little while, but then once the supply was gone, the supply was gone. I imagine this time next year, when people are looking at them again because it's a Christmas promotion kind of thing, there's going to be none anywhere. So I've just talked for like a few minutes straight, and I'm getting lightheaded. David, tell me something about Pokemon Together. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're really cool cards, and I think I love everything with the stamps. I think the stamps, just like I posted sort of a week or so ago, I posted that whole set of European thank you cards on my Instagram. Great place to go look if Nostalgianomics would ever let people know it's out there. I kid, I'm a kidder. So, but anyways, I love those cards. I love the fact that they sort of have a meaning inside of the card itself and how cute the cards are. A message like just thank you. But those 5 of the 6, I guess, were European and not so easy to come by. I still think a lot of people don't know they're out there. I just figured them out there, and damn, they weren't in my set. So that the Darkness Ablaze, I think, is the set that it was in.
Yeah.
So cards like this, I immediately think of a couple things. I think of the soccer ball promos. What were those called, Dan? The on the ball.
On the balls, yeah.
Okay, so basically, the on the balls, there was tons and tons and tons of it, and eventually even the Pikachus that were supposed to be rare, they must have come out back doors because it either didn't happen, the promotion, because of the pandemic or whatever. But then you look at something like but those were European and in, again, origination. So they didn't end up doing anything. But then you have like this Pikachu Van Gogh, which has out of the blue seemed to just skyrocket because there's so much demand. Now, you can't have demand for cards unless people actually know about them. And that card was so well advertised. So it's kind of interesting when Dan talks about these potential Pokemon Together cards being worth something down the road, because so many people really don't know they exist. And when they find out, and because they're the 2 of the 4 or 5 most top popular characters out there, and a European limited edition, and if they don't come out in backdoor droves, hopefully they will end up being worth something. So just really fun to add to a collection. And I didn't look at the bottom, Dan, or do they actually fit into sets as master set variants, or do they have special numbers on them, or what was the bottom?
They're master set variants.
Okay.
I'll say I think by the end of the promotion, there's probably going to be people will know about them a bit, but it was only first announced like really 2 or 3 days before the first date in Edinburgh. I had one friend who went to it, but she only went because I sent her a link and said, "Oh, hey, you live in Scotland. This is happening close to you." I think there will be a lot of people who could have gone to the Edinburgh one will have missed out because the initial advertisement was so close to the date of it first happening.
Yeah. And hopefully those people don't keep them in droves for themselves, where they're actually handed out to, and just tack them away. And then, although funny thing is, if somebody took them all and didn't distribute them over the course of time, they actually might be worth more anyway. So,
well, my friend said at the actual event, there wasn't any, like we saw the riots at the Van Gogh place, and she said it was actually pretty respectful. It was a well done event. Everyone was queuing nicely. Obviously, people who wanted multiple copies of the cards, people were bringing whole families, and then everyone got a pair, got both of the cards and could mail them themselves. But it wasn't a case of, people were trying to loop around multiple times. She said it seemed like everyone was just being pretty chill with it, which is really nice.
Yeah, and you got to respect the Brits. I mean, they really are a wonderfully chill culture. I don't even know a Brit I don't even know what a Brit is. I know they like certain color pair preferences. Okay, Dan, let's see. I want to talk about something else. I made a post this week in my Instagram at dperson1. I basically do all my own marketing, guys. That's why I keep saying it over and over again. Ha ha. Follow me. And if you don't, get off the podcast. Unless you don't follow me, stay on the podcast because it's for Dan and Koffee Talks, okay? Don't follow me. I love you anyways. Doesn't matter. So I put a post up for the, I'm looking at a picture here on my screen. I don't know what to call it. It's the E3 sealed 4-card inside pack deal thing that's going to be on your screen. Dan's going to put it up.
Yeah.
And when I put it up, it says May 22nd to 24th, 2002. This is a post I got. This is why I love the community. I love people saying stuff. I love people interacting in this way. So Dr. Omanite oh God, I hope I could have written that wrong. I think it says TEG. If I have it wrong, I apologize. Dr. Omanite TEG and we'll figure it out, said the following. Pichu and Hoppip. So he was talking about, I never said what's in the pack. I just wanted people to just kind of talk about it. And he said Pichu and Hoppip, both with the artwork of Expedition base set and the Japanese back. Same e-reader data. Then there's a manhole card, E, and then he's put E3 and Kirby-E. Now, and here's what he wrote about Kirby, and this was intriguing, which is the most mysterious and coveted card of those. 1 out of 3 variants on the Kirby. Loser, second place, and winner. Loser is the most common variant. Second place has pop 100 approximately. In first place, original pop was around 10. But the myth says they were destroyed after the event, but in 2021, one was found. That's a very interesting part of e-reader lore. So a couple things. Number one, thank you, Dr. Omanite, TEG or TCG, if I typed it wrong. I don't think I did because I think I copied it, for that wonderful comment. I thanked you in the comments as well. If you have one of the more rare ones, Rusty, hi, call me because I don't know. I never knew there was a variant on these Kirby's. And I've never looked at mine to see, although one would expect it's Uncle Dave, so mine's going to clearly be the loser. Dan, what do you know about this? Talk to us.
Well, do you think Kirby is a Pokemon?
Oh, I don't know. Does it have so what do they have as far as the backs? Do the manhole and Kirby have anything on the backs that look like Pokemon?
Not in any way Pokemon related.
Okay.
It was back so E3 is the it's what is it, Electronics Entertainment Expo, something like that. It's for showing off new like upcoming video games and stuff, or it was back in the day. And so this was a pack of just different cards that interacted with the e-reader. So everyone going into the expo got a pack of these cards so they could open them and they could test them in the e-readers around the event. It just happened there were 2 Pokemon cards in there, 1 manhole covered Game & Watch card, and then 1 Kirby card. So the other 2 cards in there have nothing to do with Pokemon. So I know a lot about them, but I'm settling your mind at ease on that now, that you don't need to be hunting down some rare variant of Kirby.
Now, here's an interesting part of this. Somebody sent me a follow-up to this and said that they had 2 Kirby cards, and they said, they referenced the fact that they wanted to scan them. What would you still scan these cards today other than but wouldn't it, if there were a scanner and if you did scan them, could you potentially damage them? Obviously, I would think, yes, you could potentially, but why would you scan them 21 years later? Is there some reason to do that?
So there is potential to damage them. So you have to be very careful. There are a lot of people there's organizations out there who are trying to preserve all of the e-reader data from cards. So if you scan these cards in the e-reader, something pops up on the Game Boy Advance screen. That's what the e-reader is. It clips into a Game Boy Advance. So there have been people who have been scanning them because they were trying to preserve all of the data, and they were doing it in a way where you can actually get like video files, or you can get game files for an emulator that allows you to view what would happen if you scanned them. I know because I worked with one of these companies at one point because they had a very big archive, but they were missing the sample cards, the 10-card sample set, which had included the Hoppip and the Pichu, plus 8 other cards with the word sample printed on the bottom. They are a lot rarer than the Pichu Hoppip in these. But anyway, they didn't have those. Originally, they asked me if I would crack them out of the graded cases that I had them in so that they could scan them, and then they would pay to have them graded again. That I didn't want to do, but they found a method where they shipped me a high quality scanner, like actual, just not an e-reader scanner, just a computer scanner to generate a very high res image. And they have now developed ways to take the codes off just from those high quality images. I know a guy called QWA Chance. He has worked with them a lot because he has some of the Japanese trophy cards that have e-reader information on them. So there's very few copies out there. So he worked with them to get those scanned and preserved. The reason that the Kirby was such a big deal was, so the idea of them being destroyed after the event isn't totally correct, but what you do is you would get your Kirby card and then you would go around one of the e-reader machines that was at the event and you scanned it and it would pop up on the screen like they said, either loser, second place winner, or first place winner. If you got a second or first place winner, you could take it to the booth and you would redeem your Kirby card for the second or first place prize. I think the first place prize was like a Game Boy Advance game console. The second place prize was some games or was some other merch. But if you turned in a winning card, they would destroy that card. They would tear it in half so that they couldn't be stolen and claimed again for more prizes, basically. Which meant that's why the data from those winning cards was missing from these preservation archives for the longest time because they were just so low copies. They'd found a second place one and had that, but the first place one, obviously, there was only 10 copies originally. Some amount of them would have been destroyed at the event. But it happened as a few years ago, someone had a huge bunch of these packs. Like the pack that you've got, you can find around. It's not cheap, but you can find it. People have got them. And he apparently planned to open some of them and pretend to his wife that he'd found a first place Kirby, but actually found one. So he was just going to do this to prank his wife. I think he was setting up, filming it, whatever. He was going to pretend to her that it was this super valuable card. And then it actually was, which is just amazing. And obviously they got that scanned in, and they said that was like the holy grail of e-reader cards, because for all cards that have the e-reader data, that's basically, other than these Japanese trophy cards, that's basically right below them on rarest one. And so the reason they would scan them today was obviously he scanned it to find out if it was a winning one. Turns out it does also have some tiny symbol. There's like a circle or a triangle, something printed somewhere on the card, so you can tell if it's a second or first place winner by looking at the card without actually having to scan it. I guess he didn't know that, and he was setting up for the prank. He wasn't looking at it, so you don't have to scan them anymore. But yeah, that's the story behind that one. I guess I've done so much talking today, I'm losing consciousness nearly. But yeah, that's the story behind the Kirbys. That's why they're super cool. That's why it was really cool that a first place one showed up a couple of years ago. I was reading that with interest when it came up.
Okay. All right. So in the essence of time, because I know we're running out on your recording and I don't want to go too long. We've already gone too long, but that's okay. Yeah. I would normally do a rant at some point in here. Once we did a few more cards, I'm going to bypass the cards just for a moment. If Dan needs to come back, or if we have time, we can cover them at the end. But I do want to say that normally we would do a rant, but Dan has already ranted so much today. There's no point to do a rant. So we're going to do another segment that we like to call Cards I Selected to Show This Week. Do we have a lead-in for that, Dan? Should I pause so we can do the lead-in, or am I just going to keep talking?
There's a lead-in.
Okay, well then just hang on one sec, because it's Cards I Selected to Show This Week.
What cards have our hosts found today?
And as you saw by that lead-in, it's not cards I decided to show this week. It's called Look What I Found.
Okay,
anyway, what card have you got this week, David?
All right. So guys, Dan told me it's called Look What I Found. So you know what? Yeah. I found out the right name for the segment. So guess what happened this week, guys? I got my Obsidian Flame set. I'm so excited. I'm going to be buying my sets from really nice people on eBay and on Facebook. And this person sent me a beautiful set. His name is Derek Shorts, actually, now that I think about it. So thank you, Derek. The set, let me talk about the set for just a second now that I have it. You know what I'm surprised with about these sets is there's these illustrated or special illustrated rares or arts, or I don't know what they're called, but they're the cards that are really neat and stuff. And but that there isn't as many. Like when I think back about these other sets I was buying a year ago, whatever, there were so many more cards, in my opinion. It feels like that were, more really kind of brilliant and full arts and whatever. And maybe I'm completely wrong on that, but it just feels that way. It feels like the variation of this set is not like it used to be.
You're not wrong, but that's not a, issue with all sets at the moment. It's not like all sets are like that. Obsidian Flames specifically is a very, very low set in terms of those chase cards, especially even compared to was it Paldea Evolved and then Paradox Rift, which is the one that just came out after Obsidian Flames. They both have quite a lot more in terms of the number of those chase cards compared to Obsidian Flames.
And that may be why it was I only paid, something like $450 or something like that for the set, versus these other ones that have been typically much more expensive. But the card that I found that I wanted to show was it's called Pidgeot, and it's 217 of 197. and it's going to be on your screen. And I just wrote down the sheen, the brilliance of the colors were so impressive to me, just the way it stands out. And I like to tell you that it only took me a quick search to find the card, and it's appropriate for me because everything that comes out of my mouth is a blustery wind. So I've occasionally heard, Dan, of collectors that focus on certain illustrators. I've not heard that too much, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. And this card is done by Takuyoa. And it really makes me interested going forward to check out these illustrators, because I've noticed now as I start to look, they have very distinctive styles, and some I really like and some I don't like, and some are very much more kind of smooth and some are very much more kind of very precise and cartoonish. So I wonder for you guys, comment and let Dan and I know, do you guys look at the illustrators? Do you care? Would that be something you might be interested in? I'm going to allude to that in just a minute. For those of you that might actually be illustrator collectors because you just love their specific cards, let us know about that too. Dan, did you pick a card at all, or are you too tired to do anything?
I picked a card.
Okay, let's see it, Dan. Hurry up.
So what I'm picking is I'm picking a nice little pair of promos. These are promos associated with Paradox Rift, the set I said just came out. And it is our good old friends, the GameStop and the Best Buy promos. So we've got Iron Moth, who comes from GameStop, and we have Slither Wing from Best Buy. Obviously, Slither Wing being Best Buy just has the set logo. Iron Moth has the GameStop logo. These, right after we got back from our Europe trip, it was like the next day we immediately started driving around stores. We picked up all of the stuff we pre-ordered from different stores, and then we were over to GameStop and over to Best Buy, making sure we got these. I will be showing these in a video at some point when I do some openings. I haven't opened stuff on the channel yet. These are a nice little cool pair that went with the two stores. Obviously, the Iron Moth is going to have an EB Games variant, at least in Australia, I'll need to pick up, and potentially some sort of European one like the Umbreon did, but we don't know that for definite yet. But yeah, nice little set, nice little couple of variants.
Very cool. Very cool. I know I'm getting behind further and further. I appreciate guys like that made my set, Derek, who put the variants in there from some of the GameStop and Best Buy, nice. Because I know that these just keep becoming up more and more frequently. And if you're not really following it, it's easy to fall behind. So, Dan, I know that you wanted to talk a lot about a few more promos and stuff, but we are long. Do you want to save it? We'll do, for next time. We'll catch up. I know we're going to do prize packs, we'll do promo cards. We got Rusty next week. So I did want to just address a little bit of Pokemon in the news, if that's okay.
Sure, go right ahead.
Any Pokemon in the news lately?
So there's a great article out there. I'm going to have Dan hopefully put a link out by The Guardian. And Dan probably saw it. The guy sees everything, doesn't sleep at all, unless, no, I guess he would be awake if Laura's yelling at him. So that would make sense. Doesn't sleep at all. Okay. So anyways, Dan, put the dogs out, feed the dogs, take care of the family, and don't make Laura mad because she's running the ship. So the Guardian has a behind the scenes article on how cards are created in Japan. And the two things, it's just a really kind of neat article you don't typically see. And the two things that stood out to me are this whole thing about illustrators and how many illustrators they have on the payroll at any given time to try to create unique new art for all of the things that are coming out. So take a look at that and, see if, like I said earlier, how certain cards, look different than other cards stylistically. And maybe you'll formulate a like or passion for certain illustrators and what they're doing. And the other thing they talked a lot about in the article was how much testing goes on of actually playing the game. And I've always wondered, and I've, as a person that doesn't play, barely collects the cards, I have no idea what's going on. But I've always asked people, like, how do they figure out the new cards to put in, and how's it going to be distributed, and what's a rotation, and how do you play with all that? And there's actually guys that are sitting in a room back there playing 7 to 8 hours of these games every single day, testing out the cards. So it's really unique in just reading about it and how some of them actually make sculptures. Some artists don't just draw, they make a sculpture first and then they turn that into a drawing. So if you get a chance, take a look at that. Dan, anything on that before I move on to the next piece in the news?
Yeah, there's one artist who's, I've forgotten her name, but she makes actual clay sculptures of the Pokemon and then just takes photos of the clay sculptures. While we were in Japan, we didn't get to go to the exhibition, sadly, but they had an exhibition on where they had just some of her actual clay sculptures from the cards that were there. And I know some content creators, like I think Ross from PTCG Radio and Joe from Cerebi, got to go along and do like an actual clay modeling class with her. Like she talked through to them how to make Pokemon out of clay and stuff. It sounded and looked really cool. It just wasn't something we were able to fit into our time.
Yeah, and there's a picture in that article from The Guardian where they actually show one of the clay sculptures, so it's really cool. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that Tiffany's is doing a collaboration with Pokemon. It's pretty incredible. I guess it's Tiffany and Arsham Studios. So they had, maybe like 1, 6, 2, 2, 6, about 8 different items, necklaces and pendant chains and stuff like that, featuring Pikachu and some other characters. It's all by raffle. You actually have to, by the time you see this, it's all going to be done, but they'll be on the secondary market. So we put in, I just took a shot at it. My wife said, if you do, I'm going to kill you. And then I said I would never do it. And then when she wasn't looking, I put in, because she doesn't want Pikachu. She wants like a diamond ring. And I don't blame her because I'm the collector. But anyways, I did put in for the Pikachu gold necklace and the silver necklace, just on a chance I would get a chance to potentially buy one. It's like I said, raffle, you have to put in and then you have to hope they select you by tomorrow to have your ability to buy it. But really unique that these things continue to, I always use the word proliferate, find different ways of doing this incredible marketing, and a beautiful blue Tiffany Pokeball and all the rest of it. So that was cool. And then last thing I had on the news side was, again, we got to just have Dan talk about it real quickly because we don't have a lot of time, but Tord, who's a good friend of ours and who has sold me some of his cards before and flew out, was in Vegas and just sold me his finalist card to go along with his champion this year. I didn't buy the champion from him, or not champion, whatever it was, Dan. The number 2 trophy. I didn't buy the number 2 trophy from him. Is that right, Dan?
You didn't get the number 2 trophy from him. No, you just got the finalist. He was the one who he graded his number 2 trophy and sold it through that auction house that Tom Hall works at.
Yeah. So basically, I did see it's sort of big news that Tord was disqualified from the Latin America International Championships for slow play. He took it on the chin like he does everything. He's just got that real kind of steady personality, but there was some support for him and some lack of support for him. So it's interesting if you're a player, and a lot, Dan always says the foundational element of the hobby is the players, and this concept of Tord being disqualified, even when his opponents were not upset with him and said he was doing nothing wrong. The judges still ended up doing that at the Latin America International Championships, where I guess he was maybe the defending champion or something. Dan?
Yeah, there's a lot to read into it. There's a lot of articles and stuff written about it and statements, which we don't have time to go into on here now. I think that the general consensus is that even if he did deserve the DQ for slow play, the way that it was handled by the judges was not ideal. They went about it the wrong way. There were other processes that should have been followed. Basically, it seems like he didn't receive warnings or anything. They went straight to match losses and then to DQs, whereas normally you're supposed to receive verbal warnings and potentially prize penalties and stuff for infractions going up. So it seems like even if people think that Tord was deserving of the DQ, they handled it the wrong way and they should have given him these other penalties beforehand. But when it's a lot more above my judging knowledge or experience.
I think it's so interesting that a lot of this is not appealable. You see this in a few different situations across different, especially internationally. So it's really interesting. It seems like you can have sort of good arguments or whatever, but the judge's rule is the judge's rule, and that's it. And there isn't a lot of communication on a lot of these different things that have happened. I remember, some of the thing we alluded to in a previous podcast. So. Yeah. Especially with somebody with Tord's reputation, not for slow play, but for really being a solid competitor, would carry a little bit more weight. But articles, all of those things you can look at and go out there and see and interesting stuff. So, Dan, that's all I got to say. I don't know if you have anything else. We got about 3 minutes. We ran long. I want to just end by saying we're so looking forward to having Rusty on next week. Don't forget the special giveaways in this thing. We're going to keep, as time goes on, the podcasts are going to revert more and more back to our segments. So we'll be highlighting more cards and other things as well.
And we're definitely going to hope to have more guests on in the future. I think if we can get enough people lined up who want to do it, my ideal would be, we alternate. Like 1 week it's us talking about cards and stuff. The next week it's a guest and we alternate back and forth. But we'll see. We obviously have Rusty lined up. We're hoping to get Nostalgianomics on at some point. We're looking to try and get other guests on too. And yep, we'll be back to talking about cards. We do really have to sign off, so thanks to everyone who did watch this far. Hopefully you aren't just here for whether you call it drama or calling out or whatever, because really that's done. There's nothing more I can say or show on my end. Hopefully you did enjoy the rest of this if you watched it, all of the other stuff, all of the actual card stuff, all of the stuff that's actually fun about collecting Pokemon and not about the stuff that's awful about collecting Pokemon. So that is it for us for today. Leave us some comments to leave questions for Rusty, or just let us know what you thought of this. If you watched the part of the podcast where Dave's doing his giveaway, send Dave that special message or message him if you want to buy that Worlds card. And I guess that's it. Check out More Than Never, the band that lets us use their music for our intro, outro sections, whatever. We're literally about to hit the limit on the recording time, and I do not want to start a second recording for this. I'm already out of breath. So I'll say, Dave, thanks as always for joining me. I'll see you again next week with Rusty. And happy Thanksgiving / happy Black Friday to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Koffee Talks with Dan Norton and David Person, featuring music by More Than Never and artwork by Laura Norton. A special shout out to all of our Patreon members. Join us again next time.
But they don't want you to have a